I am your host, FatDag, and you're listening to WhysAdvice. My weight loss journey failed when I focused on how. It wasn't until I switched my focus to why that I truly transformed myself. Join the show on the web at FatDag.com. Follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at WhysAdvice. Send in your comments, your questions, and your celebrations, and I'll include them as part of the show. But before we dive in, remember, when you're out of points, stop eating points. Hey, I'm honored to be your wingman as we walk through this journey together because I believe in you. Well, hello. Welcome to a very special episode of WhysAdvice, episode 98. We're coming up on episode 100. But today was a great day for me. It was that point in my journey where I really kind of feel like more than ever, I kind of got this, and you hear all the time and you're going to hear about it as we go through the show. But, once you get to goal, which is hard enough as it is, trying to maintain it isn't much easier, but it can be done for sure. And you have to kind of find things along the way to reaffirm that to you. And as you know, if you've been following along in the show at all, the Air Force makes me do a PT test every year. They make us all do a PT test, of course. And that has been my number one struggle in my entire career. I've battled with this thing, and this thing has gotten the best of me more often than not. I think my worst score on a fitness test was a 48. I went through a period of a couple years where I didn't even take the test. All of that led to me should have been probably booted from the military. I should have been kicked out for failing to meet fitness standards. But something happened along my journey, and all the signs kind of kept me going. And I finally figured out that this was not going away. It was something I had to come to terms with. And sure, I've been able to pass it on occasion. When I focused on my how, I would how myself into a passing score. And then as soon as I would pass the test, I would go right back to my old habits. And then that didn't work. So this particular time when I focused on my why, a year ago, I got the first excellent score I've ever gotten on a PT test. It was August 8th, I believe. And so I got that excellent score. And, that was going to be the test to see from there, what did I do? Well, so I have an entire year. And today, I went up and took the test. And so it kind of started like a normal day. I worked this weekend. On Saturday, a bunch of guys got together and said, hey, we're going to take the PT test in the morning on Sunday. Would you like to do it with us? And I've been working towards getting a perfect score on the PT test. That's something I kind of wanted to do. A test that had beaten me for so long. I wanted to turn right around and say, no, I've got you. I own you. I'm going to get 100. I want to get the best possible score on this test. It was a personal pride thing. Just passing the test is truly all you need to do, but I like to kind of do a little bit better in everything that I do normally. And so I really wanted to get this 100 score. And now let me explain the test to you. In order for me to get 100, for my age group, there's a couple things that have to go right. First of all, you have to, they put an abdominal tape around your midsection, around your abdominal circumference. That has to come in at 35 or less. If that comes in at 35 or less, you get maximum points on the score. Then for my age, you got to do push-ups in a minute. And if I can do 44 push-ups or more in a minute, I get maximum points. If I can do 50 sit-ups or more in a minute, I get maximum points. And then in order to get max points in a run, I have to run 1.5 miles in 9 minutes, 45 seconds. It's a 6:30 pace, so it's really booking. You have to be in shape to get this done. So those are things that I've been kind of working on. And as I look back on my journey, I can look back today and look back and say, yeah, I didn't hit some of my milestones that I would have liked to during my training. So I could have had a point where, a little bit of complacency set in. I'll be brutally honest with you, is I knew that at any moment, any time, whether it was before lunch, after lunch, before dinner, no matter what I was wearing, I could take this PT test and pass it. So I knew that. There was no question in my mind ever that at this point I can pass the test. I was actually fairly confident that no matter what, I can take the test and actually get an excellent on the test. So knowing those two things, it makes it very difficult to want to push yourself a little harder and go for that perfect score. We talk about all the time on the show the difference between attendance goals and performance goals. And I think there is a huge difference. And I've talked about more than once that when you set an attendance goal, That is what develops your good habits. You start changing your behavior. You start doing things differently because you're just attending. You're just showing up every day and you're getting something done. Now, I've also told you that if you continue to do that, at some point, your body will tell you that you need a little bit more. You need a little bit more going on than just showing up. And that's where I'm at in my journey. At 263 pounds, walking into the gym for the very first time, I was not running. It was not even possible for me to be running. So my attendance goal was simply to show up. Well, after 2 years of just showing up, I continued to want a little bit more. And now my definition of showing up is I have to show up in the run. I built the healthy habit of I run regularly because I built the habit. And then on top of that, I do have goals for the speed I want to do or the distance that I want to do. So don't get confused on the two. It's absolutely possible to have an attendance goal and then do some performance goals inside that. But the absolute key is if you are setting performance goals first and you haven't gone back and set the attendance goals, a too strong of a performance goal can knock you out of the attendance mode and then you stop doing the activity altogether. Once you've built the attendance goal and you're doing something regularly, it's at that point time to step it up. So here I am. I stepped it up in my game. I said, I want to run a mile and a half in 9:45. That's what I want to do. I set out a plan. I hired a running coach. We worked for a little while together. He gave me some great tips. And then I said, yeah, I got this. I can do it on my own. And so I kept kind of going. So today came up. I had to make the test, had to be taken before August, the last day in August. That's when it had to be done. So as I went into work this weekend, the guy said, hey, how about we do it tomorrow? And I said, well, okay, yeah, that's fine. It's 2 weeks sooner than I was ready for, but I can do it. And I've been working a lot all weekend. I got very little sleep last night, but this morning I showed up ready to get it done. I showed up. I walked into the room. They pulled out the tape measure, and I tell you, I've dreaded this tape measure for years. So if you pull the tape across your midsection, it's 39 or more. It's an automatic failure. It doesn't matter how fast you can run. Nothing else matters when they pulled at 39 and it's an automatic failure. I've been standing there weeks before this test, eating nothing, hoping to drop an inch to get under 39. The morning before a test, I would wake up. I wouldn't drink a drop of water. I wouldn't eat breakfast, nothing, because I wanted to make sure that I had every possible square inch possible, that I didn't want the tape to be expanded. So this morning was different. I had none of those thoughts at all, and I didn't recognize it until later in the afternoon. I woke up, I ate breakfast, I drank water, I drove to work, and they tape measured me. I ate all last week. I ate late last night. I ate late the night before because my weekend was very busy. Unfortunately, I was not off the plan. I overate for a couple days leading up to the test because of my work schedule and everything, just the way it worked out. So I show up to this test with a couple days of overeating, a full breakfast in my stomach, full water, and they pulled the tape across my midsection, and it actually surprised me. I got a 36. Complete shock. I was expecting 34, maybe 33. They pulled it at 36. So be it. That's the way it goes. I tell you, something happened though. It was completely different than anything else I'd ever experienced. He pulled it at 36, and I went, okay. I didn't care. There was no disappointment. There was no defeat. It was simple data. It was, okay, yeah, that's great. So he pulls the tape at 36, and I said, okay. And then so I walked right down the hall, and I said, it's time to do push-ups. Got down on the floor. They started the stopwatch. 1 minute, go. Boom, 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 boom. Belted out my push-ups. Did the maximum amount of push-ups. Did 50. Only needed to do 44. Did 50 push-ups. Had time to spare. Got the max points for my push-ups. Converted right over to do sit-ups. Did my maximum amount of sit-ups in a minute. Got that done. And then it was time for the run. So as we're driving over to the track, a routine that I have done for so many years, I drive to the track and I start inputting my numbers into the app to see where I'm going to fall on the test. So I type in my age. I type in my abdominal tape of 36. I type in 50 push-ups. I type in 50 sit-ups. And what I've always done in the past is say, what do I have to run this test in? What's the absolute slowest I can run and still pass? Now, for a long time, that number has been in the 15-minute range. As long as I can get a 15-minute time, I can pass the test. And so my mind always, for years, has been, what do I need to pass the test with a 75? That's all I was looking to do, was just, please let me just get by this test. And so the number would always come in around 15 minutes. I would set out on my run, and, I would just barely make it, if I would, across the finish line with just a mere seconds to spare. So today, as all this was happening, it's going through my brain. I'm in the car. I'm driving over to the facility. We stop. I pull out my app. I type in the numbers. And I said, what do I need on this test so that I can still get an excellent? And that was my first thought. And I didn't even really understand at the moment that I wasn't checking to see what I needed to pass. I was worried that my excellent score was in jeopardy. So the tape measure at 36 caught me for a loop, but I said, I can still do this. I can get this test done. I can still get a really excellent score if I run fast. What's the slowest I can run and still get an excellent? So I pull up the app, and it says, as long as you run in 13 minutes or less, you'll get an excellent score. Well, I'd been training all week. I've been training for a while. In fact, this week I ran 3 times this test, and I ran it in 11 minutes both times, I should say. I ran it in 11 minutes. So I knew at that moment that there was no possible way for me to not get an excellent on this test as long as I just went out and got it done. So here I am. I'm at the start line. They're ready to count down, and I had to figure out in my head, what am I going to do? I wanted to get 100 for so long. That's been kind of my journey. The tape measure put me out of that, so it wasn't even possible for me to get this 100 today because of the tape. So I very easily could have jogged around the track in 15 minutes, got my passing score, and moved on. That would have been an attendance goal. Could have very easily gotten that done. I could have very easily said, I just need 13 minutes. I could have jogged loosely around the track for 1.5 miles, gotten my excellent score of 90, and moved on. But no, I didn't. So I got to the start line. They said, are you ready? Get set, go. And I took off going for the 9-minute, 45-second mile and a half. And so out I go. First lap comes in. And so it's a half-mile track at 3:15 per lap, puts me exactly 9:45. I come across the line, and the first lap, I'm at 3:25. I'm 10 seconds off of a pace for the perfect score if I had everything else squared away. And I pushed myself so hard because I wanted to do my absolute best on this lap. And so I'm 10 seconds off. The next lap comes in, and I'm pushing even harder. But at this point, I'm running out of steam. I'm doing everything I can. And so I complete the 1.5 miles in 11 minutes, 24 seconds. It's a score that I have not seen. It's the fastest run I've ever done in my career on the official record. So I was very, very proud of myself. So I crossed the finish line at 11 minutes, 24 seconds. And my first reaction was, dang it, I missed it. I was instantly disappointed that I didn't come in 10 minutes. What a complete mindset difference than every other time I've run this test. My first reaction was to be disappointed that I didn't hit, a 10-minute mile or 1.5 miles. And so that was interesting. But at the same exact time, it was complete joy to know that a year later, when I said that I own this test, anytime, any place, anywhere, wearing anything, I could pass this test. I proved that today. It didn't matter what my 4 days were before. It didn't matter if I ate breakfast. None of that mattered. What mattered is no matter what, I can go out and pass this test. Well, I tell you though, something happened as well. So I crossed the finish line. There was a handful of us out there running. I think I was 4th or 5th across the line. Wasn't too far back in the pack, which was very good. But I looked to see the 4 guys ahead of me. And the fastest guy ran it in 10 minutes and 20 seconds. And he's a couple years older than me. So we got done, we caught our breath, and I went up to him. I said, hey, sir, what was your time? And he goes 10:20. Okay. And then I looked at another guy. What was your time? He said, yeah, around the same. And both of them said, yeah, I want to get that 9:45 though. Now let me explain real quick. I will take a second to let you know what this 9:45, it's extremely rare. For someone to do to get 100 on their PT test. I don't think anyone in our entire unit has 100 on the test at this point. So it's not like it's one of those things that just can go out and get done. You actually have to train for it. So these two guys, we look at their scores, we compare, and all three of us were, said, hey, we know we can do better. Hey, why don't we start training together, the three of us? And in October, let's retest. And the three of us will cross the finish line in October in 9:45 with 100 on the test. So that's the new goal. My attendance goal will carry me to that, but I'm going to set a performance goal. I'm going to train differently, and I'm going to get it done in October. So that's the next goal. And the reason that having a goal is important is we talk about this all the time is it's important to have a goal in your journey. It's important to know where you're headed. If I didn't have a goal of getting 100 on my PT test, I could have very easily set out today and run it in 14 minutes, 15 minutes, just kind of loafed around the track and gotten it done. But that doesn't push myself. That doesn't give me any drive. That doesn't give me any motivation. You have to have a goal. You got to know what it is you're after. You got to know where that finish line is so that you can go get it done. That is what we're having to do. So as I crossed in my 11:24, what I said, I need some inspiration. I need someone else who's done things that I'm trying to do. I'm going to follow them. I'm going to take their lead. I'm going to do whatever it is they do. And together we're going to reach our goal. So that's what I'm asking you to do as well is look where you are in your own personal journey. Find someone who's done what you're trying to do. Take success leaves clues. My leader says it all the time. Look at the successful people that you're following on this journey. If they're getting it done, find out what it is that they're doing. Now, I can honestly say that even though I didn't get the 100 score today that I was hoping to get, there was no disappointment at all. The feeling that I had when I crossed the line and I didn't get the time that I want, the feeling that I had when the tape came across and it wasn't exactly where I thought it was not a feeling of disappointment at all. It was a feeling of, okay, this is data. I can work a little bit harder. I have more left in me. I can actually do this. And the first lap of my test proved that. My first lap was right on pace for this 100 score. So I have the ability to do it. I just need to train for it. Now, I don't struggle on the test. I didn't at all, didn't all get to the point where I said, hey, I can't get this done. So that is where I'm at. It's a great day, so by all means, I don't have to even think about this PT test for another year. And here I already am training again for October. The last thing we'll say before we move on is that what I've heard a lot of folks say is this test for me was just one other workout I did this week. I ran this 1.5 miles 3 times this week, and the third time was my slowest time. Well, that's probably not a bad way to do it. If you can run it 1.5 miles in 11 minutes, 3 days a week, I think you're doing good. So the definition of goal for me, where I'm at is I'm still wearing the same medium shirt. I'm still wearing 31-inch pants. I ran 1.5 miles in 11 minutes, 24 seconds. The Air Force considers me excellent in the physical fitness area. The scale at this point doesn't matter to me. I have so many other data points that continue to tell me that I'm on the right journey, that I'm exactly where I need to be, and that's where I'm celebrating. So thank you all for your well wishes. It was absolutely heartwarming to come in and post it out there and to get your encouragement and your emails back and your texts back. It really made my day and reminded me that we're all in this together. And so thank you for being here for sure. A couple quick emails we have just tonight. Zelda writes in, says, hi, FatDag. In May, I decided that I was not working the program like it was designed. I was paying weekly and just wasting my money, so I decided to cancel. I chatted with an expert. They tried to convince me to stay, but I wasn't buying it. Just as I was going to cancel my account, she asked if I wanted a free month. First, I said no, and then I thought, well, it's free, right? I have nothing to lose. I told myself I would give it all for the month of June. June came and went, and I did not give it my all. Just as I was about to call and cancel again, I was scrolling through Connect, and I found a link to your podcast, so I decided to listen, and I've been listening to you ever since. I listen multiple times a day. I've learned a lot from you. I used to have 50 to 60-point days, multiple days in a row, and although members are very supportive and they mean well, I was usually told, it's okay as long as you're tracking, just start again the next day. I would start again the next day and track and have another 60-point day, which is why I gave up, because it just wasn't working for me. Well, it really wasn't working because I wasn't working it the way it was supposed to be worked. Now, when I'm out of points, I stop eating points. The last 3 weeks, I've only used 3 of my weeklies. I'm measuring and I'm tracking. My goal is to lose 15 pounds. I know it doesn't seem like much, but it's a lot to me. I'm setting an attendance goal to work out daily. First thing in the morning, I'm doing about 15 minutes max incline on the treadmill. I'm using this as a focus tool, not for weight loss. It's working. I'm staying very focused, but I'm not seeing the results that I expected. I've lost 0.4 pounds in 3 weeks. Is this typical? What can I do to speed up the losses? If I eat less points, will I lose more weight? I don't want to get so discouraged that I feel like giving up again. I know that quitting is just going to give me a new start date. Please help. Thank you for your time and wise advice. I would have already quit if it wasn't for you. Zelda. Well, Zelda, you are doing everything absolutely correctly, and sometimes it takes a couple of weeks for our bodies to figure out that what we're doing is a new lifestyle and it has to readjust. So I would absolutely give you, 3 or 4 weeks of doing what you're doing before you get completely discouraged and then shake things up again. A couple of quick things that you don't really talk about them in your email, but things I'm just going to throw out just as possible things for you to consider. Food quality is absolutely the number one issue when we're tracking. We've discussed this before. You can get all blue dots. You can do very well. You can stay within your plan. But if you're eating poor choices in food, not enough protein, sometimes that can have an impact on you. If you're overdoing it on fruit still has calories. It may not have points, but it has calories. You need to keep an eye on that. Tracking and weighing your food is also good things to do. You can eyeball a portion size, but when you actually put it on a scale, sometimes you can see where maybe we're overestimating a couple times. So those are a couple things I would think of real quick. And I'm absolutely glad to see that you stuck around, because you're absolutely right. Quitting will only give you a new start date. If you're working before you had 50 and 60 point days and now you've cut that back, you're doing a fantastic job. That is the hardest part of this program. The hardest part of this program is to understand that when you're out of points, stop eating points. That is the piece that when you get that piece under control, everything will start falling into place. Your weeklies are there to be used. I want you to kind of, experiment with them and how you can work them into your program. It does say that you're measuring and tracking, but just continue to look at those and see where you're at. When you only have 15 pounds to lose, the mindset is the same for all of us. The number doesn't matter. But physically, 15 pounds to lose, it's going to take a little bit more effort and focus because your body doesn't have, as much to release at that point. So it's going to be a slightly slower because that, at that point, it's just that you don't have percentage-wise the same amount of weight to lose. So continue to do exactly what you're doing. Your attendance goals will carry you to goal. The focus of your exercise absolutely is what's going to get it done. Now, one of the things that we always talk about is that you noticed that you weren't giving it your all. And this is exactly where I focused on my fitness test that we just talked about. I set the plan out and I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And when I actually came to the test day and I didn't get the exact results that I thought I was going to get, I could look back and go, oh yeah, I actually didn't give it my all. I did really good in my training. I did great in my training. But there was a couple of days that I probably could have done a little bit better. And so that's where I'm going to refocus my efforts. So I would ask you to do the same thing. I would ask you to start looking at the blue dots. See if there's a day or two that you're not giving it your all. You can feel like you're doing great. You can feel like you're doing a really good job, but 1 or 2 days can really hinder a complete set of weight loss. If you're tracking really good for 6 days and that 7th day is way overboard, it can really hinder the plan. So keep doing what you're doing. Give it 4 weeks. Shoot me an email and let me know at 4 weeks. Online coaching is an avenue, and certainly you can post on Connect and find out other options for folks who are in the same area and go from there. But Zelda, keep up the great work. You're killing it. Joining us on Facebook, Jeanne writes in and says from North Alabama, hey, today I hit my 5%. Jeanne, congratulations on 5%. You don't hit 5% by accident. If you've hit 5% in your weight loss journey, you have the ability to keep going, you can get to 10%. And when you get to 10%, it proves you can get to goal. Because when you hit 5%, we don't give you a new set of tools. Nothing changes in your program. You've proven that through the hard days, through the good days, through the bad days, you have enough focus and discipline to get it done. And the fact that you've hit 5% means your head is in the game. It means you're focused and you can get it done. So, Jeanne, congratulations to you for that. Tasha writes in, says, "Hi, Mike. I'm a new listener here. Not long ago, and with about 10 pounds to goal, I find myself feeling complacency creeping in, and it was suggested that I listen to your podcast by many on Connect. What an eye-opener they have been. Thank you for that. I began my first ever Weight Watcher journey in early May with a starting weight of 185. I'm now at 165 with a Weight Watcher goal of 159 and a personal goal probably 10 below that. I am so very excited and determined to get to goal and ultimately feel that feeling of stepping on the scale and not wanting to lose any more weight. I have never felt that feeling in my lifelong struggles with yo-yo dieting. I imagine that when it will feel both fulfilling and very empowering, and that it will even help to motivate me to stay on track through a lifetime of maintenance to follow. I am writing in hopes that you could speak to a theme that has been popping up in my meetings lately, that of the work of maintenance being harder than the work of losing. I've heard many maintenance members state this, and although I haven't been in their shoes and I can appreciate that maintenance is very hard work, I wish they wouldn't put more of a value on their work than mine, nor compare the two in the first place. Apples and oranges here, both are hard work and deserve kudos. Your journey is no more or less significant than mine. We're all on our own path. I feel it's important to shed some light on this so that we can better support each other as a community. As you can imagine, it's rather defeating to hear this comparison when you're working towards a goal that others have achieved, yet they are presenting it as harder than what you are currently doing. It feels especially disheartening hearing it from people who have fought the hard fight that I'm currently in, and they have won. I don't think they mean to take away from anything else or anyone else's challenges or successes along the way, but sometimes it clearly can feel that way. I was hoping that you could put a different spin on this phrase and maybe shed some light on the fact that hearing this in a meeting as a hardworking Weight Watcher loser who is aiming to ultimately to be faced with a lifetime of maintenance, it can be frustrating and a bit defeating at times. Thanks for all you do, Tasha. Tasha, I agree. And so here is what's interesting about that is, the journey is completely different for every single person. So you're absolutely right, is we can't compare one person's journey to another. And some days maintenance is harder and many days it's easier, but it really is in relation to my personal journey and how I work the plan. So, I would also say that it's actually different. It ends up being a slightly different journey when you're at maintenance because there's nothing I could eat today that's going to make me gain 91 pounds. There's nothing that can take the feeling away that I actually hit a goal weight. Nothing can take that away overnight. So the complacency trap is where you have to kind of focus and the availability of social functions, they seem to pop up more and more once you get there. The invitations it's easier to say yes because your focus is I want to be included more and I don't want to be left out when I was in my weight loss journey, I said no to a couple events that I probably could have gone to because I wanted to make sure I was able to stay focused. So the journey is absolutely different. I do completely agree with you. And one of the terms that I've completely struck from my vocabulary is I don't struggle on this plan. I have days where I follow the plan, or I have days that I track, and I have days that I overeat. The days that I overeat, I understand exactly what that's going to do to the scale. I understand exactly what the choices I'm making. And I've built a lifetime of healthy habits by setting attendance goals that the following days I get right back to my new healthy lifestyle. So I don't consider it a struggle. I consider it a balance. And it's the phrase that I throw out a lot of times is that I want you to be the prize. And so if you're right, if I continue to say this maintenance is so hard and I'm struggling so much, well, why would you want to get here? It's very easy to not want to lose weight. It's very easy to live life not in a weight loss mode. But it's so much fun being at goal. It's so much fun being at lifetime. The joy I have at lifetime, I want you to experience. Whether it's hard or easy, it doesn't matter. I want you to enjoy how wonderful it is. And I think if we all take that page and we say, hey, this is a great journey. When you get to goal, things are so different. When you get to lifetime, things are so much fun. Man, doesn't that make you want to get there? It made me want to get there. And when I saw folks on Connect living this lifestyle, I was willing to trade anything I had to get to it. And then when I got there, I just continued to work it into my life and continued to just make sure that every decision I made was in line with my goal and I was able to get it done. So I agree that's where you can go. And what I want you to do, I want you to focus on your why. Why did you start this? I want you to focus on your own journey. Your journey is the only one that matters. You're going to get a lot of input along the way. Along the way, someone will always tell you a way that you can improve, and it's your job to filter that out. It's your job to take those suggestions and see if they work into your journey. It's your job to incorporate them if you want. If you're getting the result that you want, continue doing what you're doing, and we celebrate together. Celebrating is the best part of this journey. As we celebrate together, we really become a community. We really become, one with each other. We share what's going on, and that is what makes this entire journey special. So I'm honored to celebrate with you. I'm honored to walk with you. And what is it that you're celebrating? I want to know. Go to FatDag.com, click on Listen Now, send in your comments, your questions, your celebrations. I'll work them in this part of the show. But that's going to do it for this time. Remember that losing weight and getting healthy has nothing to do with luck. You got to remain disciplined and focused. Set your sights on your goal and go after it. I wish you good focus.